Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and I have a simple question to start off with. Do you trust the government spying on your private information? Do you trust the government spying on your private chats? Now I'm sure that there's going to be a fair amount of people in my comment section who keep saying, but Muta, you're a paranoid nutjob, okay? You just believe everyone's spying on you. Nobody cares, Muta. If you have nothing to hide, why are you worried? Now, this is one of the things that I absolutely despise hearing because I think every human being has a rightful expectation to privacy, okay? So today I want to talk about something that, I've seen over the weekend when I was in New York, and unfortunately, it's gotten pretty bad, okay? So for anybody that doesn't know, there's a Telegram boss by the name of Pavel Durov, who's currently arrested and detained in France right now. Because apparently the tool that he was basically selling around the world, or, the service that he was operating, Telegram, was accused of basically facilitating some really illegal stuff. Now, before we go into it, I want to just cross this entire video with as much tact and as much nuance as I can put into it, because I really pride myself when I'm covering these things on my channel for, right? Like, at least we're looking at these things from a, nuanced perspective, not something from anger or being particularly on one side. Now, in the past, I've made several videos where I've talked about, Linux, for instance, right? And a lot of people say, Muta, nobody cares about Linux. Nobody cares about the Penguin, okay? I'm going to keep using Windows. My option of using Linux is to, A, promote it because I am a Linux user, and I think promoting it and teaching people how to use Linux, like in a video in the past I made not too long ago where I actually have a Linux guide for beginners. It's designed so that people who want to cut the cord from the largest operating system in the world have an option for doing so. I'm not saying Linux is perfect. It absolutely isn't. But if you don't have any competition in the space, then you are forced to stay in stagnation. So I am at least there to provide an alternative option for people who don't want to be beholden to Microsoft's software running on the hardware that they purchase from a store or they build on their own. Now, when it comes to other things that I've covered in the past that are unsavory, the deep web browsing series. Heck, I do cover deep web stuff too. A month ago, I made a video browsing the deep web again. Usually, I'll amalgamate a bunch of websites and go across. But this isn't about the deep web exploration. It's about the deep web itself. Now, I've always said the deep web, the Tor relay, is a piece of technology. And it's a piece of technology that allows people to host websites and distribute information without fear of being taken down, without fear of the government spying on them, without fear of their anonymity being hijacked away from them. Now, with that, power comes a lot of good people and a lot of bad people. And I've spent over 200, I want to say 40 episodes at this point on the deep web, where I literally have seen, I want to say 80% of websites that are goofy and funny. And yeah, there's 20% of websites that are bad. There are bad people distributing illegal material, weapons, unsavory things that you probably don't want to read on the internet, but they exist there because of things like freedom of speech, and they should. These are things where obviously, as long as, and again, I don't condone any of the illegal material whatsoever. I don't think anything that's breaking the law is okay. I'm just saying that on a platform like the deep web, there's going to be people that use it for good reasons, like journalists, people who want privacy, and there's going to be criminals who abuse it and whatnot. Should that mean we get rid of technology that gives us privacy? Absolutely not. Now, Pavel Durov is a Russian founder of Telegram who basically got arrested at a Paris airport, and this was a massive free speech issue. So they were detained when they were being investigated for accusations of fraud, drug trafficking, organized crime, terrorism promotion, and of course, cyberbullying on the messaging platform as well. So obviously, Telegram had a fair amount of things to say. So Telegram said they abide by European Union laws, including the Digital Services Act, and its moderation is within the industry standards and of course, constantly improving. So they said their CEO has actually nothing to hide and whatnot. And it's absurd to claim that a platform or its owners are responsible for abuse of that platform. So this is where it is a double-edged sword. Obviously, if Telegram was operating without any form of moderation whatsoever or prevention of illegal material being removed, then we would have an issue. But according to Telegram itself, and I can, somewhat verify this because I know that these platforms do their utmost best, they constantly stop things like child abuse. So literally every day you can follow the @StopCA, which is Telegram's child abuse update, Telegram room, and they'll tell you 2,119 groups and channels related to child abuse banned on August 26th. This month alone, 45,434 channels. So obviously that sounds like a lot of channels being removed. And to give you an idea, illegal material, unfortunately relating to children, is very much alive everywhere. So it's not just Telegram. It can be somewhere on Twitter. It can be on Facebook. It can be literally even on Roblox, for crying out loud. I would say even YouTube, the platform you're using to watch this video, has its own problem, even in the comment sections to my videos. And I've actually had a few creators reach out to me, literally tell me they're CP bots, okay? There's literally comment bots in the platform still to this day, basically leading people to click on their YouTube channels, and there they'll have a bio that leads to an alleged video of a very prolifically evil adult, child exploitation movie. Again, every child exploitation video is evil, but this one is known as Daisy's Destruction. Now, obviously, I can't verify this because I've never seen the original video, nor do I want to. And also, I've never really went down the rabbit hole of confirming if this video was real. It probably could be, probably might not be, but it would involve me downloading an illegal video file onto my computer and being, privy to a crime, actually, storing and transmitting illegal content. Now, obviously, plenty of platforms do their best. Google, for instance, has their own YouTube CSAI, which is a special content ID tool that they use on YouTube and distribute for free, by the way. Anybody can use it, that basically assists in detecting illegal material and getting rid of it as soon as it gets uploaded. Microsoft has something known as PhotoDNA, which helps stops the spread of any of this kind of material. And the way that it works is basically it captures fingerprints or hashes within a piece of video or a photo, hashes that law enforcement agencies and agencies that are specifically designed to tackle this disgusting stuff, they hash out the images of these children, for instance. And these hashes then get sent to a massive database, the NCMEC. And of course, Microsoft, Google, every company involved in this shares these hashes. And these hashes are not images of these children. They're just like, computerized visualizations, right? Like computer fingerprints. And if that hash ever gets matched into a photograph, for instance, then there's a reasonable expectation that you've owned a piece of illegal material. And that's how companies like Microsoft, Twitter, Facebook, a lot of these companies spend to fight back against illegal stuff like this. So again, I'm just saying this to give you an idea of how this technology works. I'm trying to demystify this because it feels like a lot of people still don't understand how companies as large as YouTube, as large as Google, Facebook, Microsoft, X are fighting against such a disgusting trend. Unfortunately, it's gotten worse as the internet evolves. So the way that Telegram works is it's a privacy-focused application. If you go to Telegram right now, they'll tell you that it is a private, new era of messaging where the idea is your messages are encrypted from end to end. So the way that it works is, unlike other platforms like WhatsApp, and I'm assuming iMessage, Telegram is a cloud-based messenger with seamless sync. As a result, you can access your messages, several devices, including tablets and whatnot, up to 2 gigs each. Telegram has a multi-data center infrastructure and encryption, and it's faster, way more secure. On top of that, private messaging is free and will stay free. So the way that all of this works is your, conversation from one device to another device is meant to be encrypted. Meaning that obviously, no government or really any spy can break in and see what you're saying between each other. Now, it's because of this that obviously people use Telegram to preserve their privacy, like journalists in an oppressive regime. Or unfortunately, 2 disgusting people sharing illegal child material with each other. Now, Telegram is unfortunately used a lot by shady people. I'll give you a quick, lighthearted example. When it comes to cryptocurrency scams, nearly every scam that I have ever investigated or busted always had a Telegram channel attached to it. Hell, the Boogie 2988 Fatty token was literally discussed and still is discussed underneath Telegram's, server. So again, these are the platforms that are used, unfortunately, by criminals, by scammers, by people who abuse those privacy features for their own disgusting gain. That doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of people that use this software for actual legitimate reasons. So yes, Telegram is a privacy-focused service that unfortunately criminals, people have co-opted. Now, this is unfortunately on the heel of the government implementing some new things that I think you should really be scared of. See, anytime children are brought into this kind of stuff, I care about kids. I think everyone cares about kids. I think if you ever come across somebody that says, I really, really care about fighting for children, there's probably some weird ulterior motive to it. And nothing is truer when a politician starts talking about this kind of stuff. So while Durov's detention is based more around his involvement with the alleged, distribution of this kind of stuff, I wanted to bring up some other things that are going on in the EU. So Telegram's, actual competitor, Signal, an actual, messaging client that I use on a day-to-day basis to talk to my friends, my loved ones, people around me, actually ended up dropping something back in June of this year, where they said under the new branding, same scanning, upload moderation undermines end-to-end encryption. So what they've basically said, Signal, is end-to-end encryption is a technology we have to enable privacy in an age of unprecedented state and corporate surveillance. And the dangerous desire to undermine it never seems to die. For decades, experts have been clear. There is no way to both preserve the integrity of end-to-end encryption and expose encrypted content to surveillance. You can't have one or the other. You can't give people complete privacy and also give the government a backdoor to access people's private information. Then it's not fucking private anymore. The way end-to-end works is one end encrypts, the other end decrypts. If you gave the government a key, then it's not end-to-end. That means there is a third end that can open the fucking lock and peek through every message imaginable. Now, again, like I said in the beginning, there's probably people who are like, if you have nothing to hide, why worry about it? It's not about having something to hide. It's about having a basic right, a basic human right to privacy. Nobody should ever be okay with any government agency, any corporate entity peeking into your house beyond your front door. Anytime, you find a big CEO that puts tape over their fucking, MacBook webcam, or you find somebody that disconnects from a hardware level their microphone. This microphone doesn't work unless I'm recording a video. I just actually unplug it completely. Why? Because I'm not going to have a tap exposed for no reason. And same with, devices that I own. If I can hardware shut off something, I just do it. There's never 100% a clean way away from surveillance. You're always getting watched by Big Brother in some way. But I believe the more you can limit it, the better. So what they said in November, the EU Parliament lit a beacon for tech policy when it voted to exclude end-to-end encryption from mass surveillance orders in a chat control legislation. The move responded to long-standing expert consensus and a global coalition of hundreds of preeminent computer security experts who patiently weighed in to explain the serious dangers of the approaches on the table. Approaches that aimed to subject everyone's private communication to mass scanning against a government-curated database or AI model of acceptable speech and content. So at this moment in time, the government wants to, or at least plans that there is some sort of artificial intelligence, some AI, chat GPT-like service that the government can use to basically peek through a mass volume of information to look for keywords or acceptable speech. Now, what is acceptable speech? That's really up to the government to decide. And when it comes to governments and politics, these are very fluid things, In reality, the government could say, well, we're just focusing on people that are, child predators, and that's noble. Everyone can agree on that. But what if that focus ends up shifting to political dissidents? People who are not on your political party. Maybe somebody that might be verging on extremism, but still operating within their right to free speech. When does the spying, when does the surveillance stop, right? When does that happen? This is when we get into things like rhetorical bullshit, okay? So what happens was they come up with something different. They came up with client-side scanning, and they've rebranded it to something known as upload moderation. So some are claiming upload moderation does not undermine encryption because it happens before your device or video is encrypted, and that is untrue. Rhetorical games are cute in marketing or tabloid reporting, but they are dangerous and naive when applied to such a serious topic with such high stakes. So according to Signal, let's be very clear again. Mandating mass scanning of private communications fundamentally undermines encryption, full stop. Whether this happens via tampering with, for instance, an encryption algorithm's random number generation, or by implementing a key escrow system, or by forcing communications to pass through a surveillance AI or system before they're encrypted. That is a fucking backdoor. And backdoors completely undermine your right, and your human right, by the way, and I can't stress this enough, your human right to having some form of privacy against Big Brother and corporations that like to peek into everything that you want to do. You know, governments would love this, to basically keep an eye on people that they consider unsavory for whatever arbitrary reason. Corporations would love to look through your messages to find out how exactly to advertise to you and whatnot. And it feels like day by day, we keep inching towards, I mean, we're already kind of there where people are just kind of numb to the idea of taking their privacy, at all. You can control how much the government spies on you. It's up to you to take a bit of initiative and fight for your very basic rights. Now, at the same time, what's kind of insane about this is like 4 months ago, there was even a leak where the EU interior ministers wanted to exempt themselves from this bulk scanning of private messages. So read this for a minute, okay? So this was leaked by the French news organization Context. Basically, they want to exempt professional accounts of staff of intelligence agencies, the police, and military from the envisaged scanning of chat and messages. The regulation would not apply to confidential information such as professional secrets. The EU government rejects the idea that the new Child Protection Center should support them in the prevention of child abuse and develop best practices for prevention initiatives. So again, you can read the exact phrasing of these like bills, child protection. And it's not just the EU that this wants to be a thing in. Obviously, the US government, the Canadians, any world government that has an interest in monitoring their people, in surveillancing, in watching what people do, they're interested in using this as a smokescreen to be able to spy on every single thing that you do. So yeah, obviously, look, before you say, Buddha, shouldn't some government things be a secret in case hackers get access to them and see what the government is doing? Obviously, that's important. But that should also apply to everyone as well. Look, the whole point of this is the governments want to push all the forms of surveillance onto you, but they realize how scary their algorithms, their AI, their tools are, unfortunately being used against them, that it's rules for thee, but not for me, okay? Not at all. Imagine if politicians were exempt from this, because apparently they contain some really classified information, which they do. Politicians absolutely have classified stuff. That's why in most cases, their cellular devices are not necessarily their own, they're owned by government agencies that monitor every single thing that they do. And that's, again, to protect everyone, because politicians, government employees, people in the military, and the police have far more access to private information than the average person. So, of course, it should be protected. But when it comes to things like this, spying on the average person, you can clearly see the government doesn't want it to be spied on. It's okay for politicians and like people in the government to get away with saying whatever they want and interacting in a private world, but it's not okay for the average person to be interacting like this whatsoever. And what governments are doing is they're basically using children as a smokescreen to take away your basic encryption and your basic privacy. And look, I understand these videos are not the most popular on my channel, I get it, but I think it's always something worth fighting for. So one of the things that I have set up in my local system right now is a Signal server. So I don't even like to use Signal on itself. Because I have a server in my basement, I can basically host my own iteration of Signal and basically use this to communicate to the people around me. So everyone in my office, everyone in my business life, everyone in my personal life can basically use that server and enjoy true privacy and true anonymity. And it's not difficult for you to set this up in your own Docker container and then basically route your actual mobile applications to that server. It's not really difficult whatsoever. Look, at the end of the day, governments like to use phrasing like this to make this shit more palatable. But at the end of the day, let's call it what it is, an attack on your basic human rights and freedoms and privacy. And that's something that I think is always worth fighting for and advocating for, okay? Because everyone in the world can argue and at least get together on the idea of us living some sort of privacy, at least having some modicum of it in our life. Again, it goes back to when I cover the deep web. The deep web videos were not just a video series that, obviously was, designed to just show you the deep web. It was there to demystify this thing that governments would use to constantly say illegal criminals are using it. Yeah, that's true. Illegal criminals do use the deep web. But there's a lot of people that use this technology, like journalists, and I'll say this a million times, to spread information in a safe manner where, their governments or people in their countries won't persecute them, whether legally or by putting a bullet in their head. And the same with these chat services right now. Look, I don't like a lot of the channels that I go to on Telegram when I'm looking at scammers and whatnot. But am I going to sit down on a train and say, yeah, let's just destroy all of it because of the bad actors that exist? Bad actors that are already still being fought against in a... It's a never-ending battle, and people know it's a never-ending battle. Politicians are trying to conflate it as if, hey, listen, let us surveillance, let us stop criminal. If the government was allowed a backdoor today into any of these services or tech agencies, the spread of child exploitation would not change one bit whatsoever. What would change is that the privacy that you have by using some of these services would be gone in a heartbeat. And the governments, they want that. They want the ability to spy and surveil you to no end. They want to rip away every single ounce of your privacy until every single aspect of your life can be monitored, can be controlled, and you have to watch whatever you say to anybody, even in a private channel. And I think it's something that is really, really scary to see that we're heading towards. And unfortunately, if you don't take a stand now, you're going to lose it forever, because that's just where we're getting to. Once the government regulates it, that's how these systems are going to be designed, and unfortunately, that's where we're at. It's one of the reasons why I fight against things like the TikTok ban, for instance, right? Like, I might not be a TikTok user, and I might even think that China spies on people with TikTok. I even think TikTok is a giant AI attack on the brains of American children. But do I think that we should be banning any form of application that can be used to communicate with each other? Absolutely not. You know, if you lose that, you're no more freer than the most totalitarianist regime that exists in the scariest parts of the world. But yeah, let me know what you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, in the comment section. I wanted to really talk about this because, as you all know, I'm a channel that focuses on privacy, computer safety, and security. And this is, without a doubt, one of the most important battles worth fighting. Anyways, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I'm addicted to No Man's Sky, so I'm probably going to get finished on that. I think I definitely should make a video on that this week, because I got to at least turn this addiction into something meaningful. Anyways, I am out.